Reptiles are kind of strange in general, but there are certain ones that seem not of this world. So today, let's go over the top 5 mutant reptiles. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wicked's Wicked Reptiles. Stick around. Okay, to be fair, mutant reptile doesn't seem very nice to say, but this is what I mean. There are certain reptiles that have crazy adaptations. Just certain things about them that seem like, why? Or how? Or that's the coolest thing ever, but certain things that just aren't like any other reptile. So, let's get it going. Number 5, probably the worst species to keep as a pet on the list, spider-tailed horn vipers. What the heck is that? Does it have a spider tail and a horn? Yup. Now these are really interesting, and to me it's interesting because these animals, which are from Western Iran, weren't formally described until 2006. So I was in the 10th grade. Like this seemed, okay, maybe it was a while ago because I'm old now, apparently. I was told by a TikToker last week. But either way, it seems like it wasn't that long ago. Less than 20 years ago, these were formally described. To me, this is bonkers, right? Now, not as bonkers as what's going on with their face and their scales, but mostly their tail. They're basically luring in their prey like some other species do, but none of them do it quite like this. Now this is known as caudal luring. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically what they're doing is they take their tail, which has elongated scales to make it look like an arachnid, a spider basically, right? And they kind of wiggle it around close to their face to look like a spider. And it is very convincing. Very convincing. When I first saw these, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought it was just a spider. This was like a while back, and it was on some social media platform, and I had never heard of these things before. Now, there are similar things in nature like this. For example, eyelash vipers from Central America. These guys do sort of similar in that they try to look like a flower in order to have a bird land on them, and then they can just strike, envenomate them, and then eat them. So it's not totally unique to pretend you're something that you're not in order to eat a little bit easier, but eyelash vipers don't wiggle their tails around like the spider vipers do. The idea is a bird swoops down, tries to bite this spider to eat it, which isn't a spider, and then wham bam, Bob's your uncle, you're dead now, bird, because you got envenomated by a viper, because it wasn't a spider. You're a silly goose, and now you're dead. Really cool animals, don't keep them as pets, probably not a great idea. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4, Spanish ribbed newts. These are actually sort of common. I mean, not the most common. They're similar, in my opinion, to axolotls. Axolotls are salamanders that are fully aquatic, and Spanish ribbed newts are newts that are fully aquatic. Now, these guys are from parts of, I guess, Eurasia, because it's Morocco, Portugal, Spain, like that area of the world. They're not that difficult to keep. People keep them in paludariums with other things. They're great pets. But what's unique about them is they're called ribbed newts. Why are they called ribbed newts? Well, when a predator comes along and tries to eat them, they will break their ribs through their skin and then start to inject venom or poison into whatever it is that just bit them. So not only is it like sharp barbs that is poking into this animal as a deterrent, but there is actually a toxin that's going into the animal too. Don't bite a Spanish rib newt. That'll be a bad day. It's like an underwater porcupine thing. My bobber. Now it's interesting because in captivity they're only going to grow around 7 or 8 inches, so kind of small, whereas in the wild they've been observed up to 12 inches. And like a lot of other newts and salamanders, these guys can regenerate limbs, but also they can regenerate damaged heart tissue, damaged brain cells.
Water out of, when we have water bottles, out of a plastic,
These guys are, I don't know, like healing machines, basically. They're very interesting, very unique. They're kind of, there's really nothing like them, sorta. Oh, and if you are like in your 20s or 30s and you wanted to be an astronaut when you're a kid, and as a parent that you're not going to do that now because you failed your dream, Spanish ribbed newts have actually been to space, so they're better than you. It's true. Something about an experiment on microgravity. No idea what that means, but they've been to space. They also look like they're from space. Part alien for sure. I mean, look at them. Just look at them.
Would you look at this?
Number 3, horned lizards. Now, there are 8 certain species, I'm not gonna put all the scientific names here, it doesn't really matter, that can shoot blood from their eyes. Now, normally if you're bleeding from your eyes, it's like time to go to the hospital. Maybe you've been bit by something you shouldn't have been messing with, or you're part of a sci-fi movie. But either way, if you shoot blood from your eyes, probably not good. But these guys will do it as a defense strategy. Now, horned lizards are found in North America. The southwest US is where you find these species that are going to be able to shoot blood from their eyes as a deterrent to predators, and it would work. Because if I was trying to eat something and it started to shoot its own blood at me with their eyes, that is way too metal for me to continue.
Pretty metal.
Now, I wouldn't keep these as pets either. Population decline, and really they don't make great captives for a lot of people, but with that, let's move on. Number 2, alligator snapping turtles. They've got a few adaptations. The most obvious one is the crazy bite force that could sever digits. Yeah, now these are massive animals from the southern US, and when I say massive, I mean over 100 pounds a lot of the time. Think Bowser, right? That's, well, I think everybody on TikTok or YouTube that has one names it Bowser, but for obvious reasons. I think alligator snapping turtles are very cool. Different than common snapping turtles with, well, a few reasons. Common snapping turtles have more dexterity in their neck. So if you hold one, like you see me doing here.
Can you make him snap?
It can whip back around and almost get you on the back of its shell. You really have to hold it at the base by the tail.
Don't look at my nipple like that, buddy. Don't look at my nipple like that.
Because if you hold it on the sides or behind the shell, it's gonna be able to get you, and it's gonna suck. I mean, these animals don't get as big or as powerful as alligator snapping turtles, but it's still going to be a bad day. An alligator snapping turtle doesn't have the dexterity in its neck. So a lot of the times, because they're so big and you need like a handle, you can grab it behind its head on the shell. But either way, if it does bite you, lights out, whatever piece of flesh it bit, it is taking with it if it chooses to. But that's not the adaptation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about inside of its mouth, if you dare to look. It has a worm-like appendage on the end of its tongue. Very similar, or the same sort of idea, caught alluring, as the very first entry, the spider viper, or spider-tailed horned viper, whatever. In short, these animals are going to have this appendage on their tongue to lure prey. So a fish or whatever it is that they're trying to eat, they're going to wiggle this thing around like you would on the end of a fishing line, and you wait for something to come, and that's it. Good night, fishy. In the case of snapping turtles, fish are not friends. They are just food. I don't recommend you keeping an alligator snapping turtle, by the way. Not great pets unless you have a giant big zoo, and most of us don't. So with that, let's move on to number 1, which you can keep as a pet, and I have a bunch of, actually. Number 1, mourning geckos. Mourning geckos are the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas. They are so freaking cool. They're tiny, they're all over the world. They're not supposed to be, but they are. If you go to Florida or any place where they're not supposed to be, that's warm enough, you will find mourning geckos. Now, the really cool thing is they are strong, independent women who don't need no man. It's true. There are no male mourning geckos. They're all females. So how the heck does that work? Well, parthenogenesis. What does that mean? I also wondered when someone said this to me out loud. Parthenogenesis basically means that females are cloning themselves. They will lay eggs, and every egg, every baby is basically a clone of that mother gecko. There are a little bit more, there's a little bit more to this. I'm just not smart enough to articulate it. So this is the very bare bones, easy peasy, lemon squeezy way to understand it. So if you are one of those people that hasn't seen the sun in 17 years because all you do is research reptiles and you have a better explanation, by all means, throw it down there. Now, mourning geckos are really small. They're not big at all. Apparently I'm Dr. Seuss now. Regardless, these animals are, well, my favorite thing about them, the reason I have so many of them, is you can cohab them with dart frogs. I have lots of dart frogs, I love dart frogs, and basically all my dart frog enclosures have mourning geckos. Now be careful, they are escape artists because they're so small, even as adults. So I've had it before where there's a little tiny crack and they'll get out of it. Make sure that you have your enclosures sealed up. Otherwise, they will be gone. They're gonna eat things like a prepared diet, kind of like what you'd feed your crested gecko, gargoyle gecko, Chihuahua gecko, whatever. And also they're gonna eat things like small flies, flightless fruit flies, which is perfect because that's what your dart frogs are going to eat. I'm a big fan of putting geckos and frogs together. I do it with bigger species like Phelsuma, the giant day geckos from Madagascar, and Amazon tree frogs. Those, they do great. Same sort of idea. Both will eat insects, but only one's going to eat the prepared diet. So don't worry, your frog's going to stay out of it. Even if they get into it, it's not going to hurt them. Make sure they have a water receptacle to rinse themselves off if they want to. That's it. Really easy. So there you go. Those are the 5 mutant craziest adaptations of any reptile that I could think of. What do you think? Is there enough for a part 2? What is your favorite crazy adaptation? Let me know in the comment section below. And let me know what you think would be a good idea for a video. I'll get all the video ideas out of the comment section. And thank you very much for hitting like, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTubers are supposed to say at the end of the video. And a special thank you to the Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. I've already let you know about the international trips that we're planning. I'm really excited about it for the end of the year. You know about extra things in my collection I don't talk about. You're gonna get the Reptile Room tour. We've started to film it. You're gonna get that pretty early in comparison to everybody else. You so much discounts on merch, the whole thing, for as little as $1 a month. You can be part of the Patreon crew too, and that's it. Because we do videos twice a week, that means I'll see you on Monday or Thursday, or see you in the next one.